Is it peace for Kosovo? Milosevic seems ready to deal and withdraw his troops. Is it real this time? Are there any winners? In depth tonight, now what for the refugees who want to go home, rebuilding, and for thousands of American troops going in to keep the peace? The investigation of Flight 1420, a fatal race, evidence the pilots may have tried to beat the storm to the airport. And getting older isn't easy. The prognosis tonight for this national treasure.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. Slobodan Milosevic says he accepts the peace deal. President Clinton says he's pleased. And the bombing will continue. It's been that kind of war, it's that kind of peace. Tonight, however, the tilt plainly is toward peace. The terms were worked out by the West, carried to Belgrade by a Finn and a Russian, and when Milosevic agreed, it did set off a wave of relief and caution. We begin tonight with NBC's Andrea Mitchell. Andrea?
Tom, U.S. officials are cautious, but think this could be real. That Slobodan Milosevic has, in fact, finally accepted NATO's demands to end the war. After 72 days of NATO bombing, Milosevic finally says yes today. He tells Finland's President Ahtisaari, who represents the U.S. and NATO, and Russian envoy Chernomyrdin. The Serb parliament quickly rubber stamps the deal. Ahtisaari rushes to Germany to tell NATO he's optimistic, but given past Milosevic backsliding, very wary.
The proof of the pudding is in eating it. And the same goes for peace processes.
The peace agreement calls for rapid withdrawal of all Serb forces, return of refugees, international peacekeepers in Kosovo, including troops from NATO and Russia, but under a UN flag, a concession to Milosevic, who did not want it to be completely NATO-run. The return of a small Serb military force, several hundred men, to guard historic sites, patrol borders, mark minefields. But NATO says no bombing pause until it sees proof the Serbs are ready to pull out. The acceptance by Belgrade of these terms is a vital first step. But the confrontation cannot end until these terms are complied with and implemented. What are the next steps? NATO generals go to Belgrade to work out specifics with Serb generals. The UN votes to accept the deal, again a concession to Milosevic. It makes it look like the UN, not NATO, is in charge. In fact, who are the winners and losers? NATO gets into Kosovo without losing any troops, and Milosevic is an indicted war criminal. But Milosevic is still in power, has destroyed the rebel army, eliminated thousands of Kosovo's Albanians.
We really have to see this agreement as it's implemented before we can draw up a true scorecard.
And NATO failed to prevent a humanitarian disaster. Mass graves, no way of knowing how many dead, 1.5 million refugees, a country in ruins. Tom?
Andrea Mitchell tonight at the State Department. Thanks very much, Andrea. This news came just in time for the White House, where President Clinton has been actively defending this war while his aides have been watching the political support across the country decline steadily. NBC's David Bloom is at the White House tonight. David?
Tom, the president, while cautious, welcomed what he called the encouraging news on Kosovo. And senior U.S. officials say that as early as this weekend, NATO generals and Serb military commanders plan to meet to discuss a timetable for a Serb troop withdrawal from Kosovo. That means, these U.S. officials say, NATO's bombing campaign could end early next week. In a brief Rose Garden appearance, the president made clear NATO's air war will continue for now.
Until Serb forces begin a verifiable withdrawal from Kosovo, we will continue to pursue diplomacy, but we will also continue the military effort that has brought us to this point.
But U.S. officials say the bombing could be scaled back, and they say retreating Serb forces will not be attacked if Serb military leaders agree this weekend on a precise timetable for a verifiable troop withdrawal.
This is something that will be worked out if they want to work these things out in a military channel.
This afternoon, the president met for the first time since the war began with his Joint Chiefs of Staff. But instead of focusing on the possibility of a ground invasion, sources say, the emphasis was on quickly moving 10 to 15,000 NATO peacekeeping troops into Kosovo if the deal holds. But caution is the watchword here. One White House official said, we're not jumping up and down. We've seen promises before. We don't want to look stupid. Another added late tonight, that U.S. intelligence analysts as yet, quotes, have not seen any orders going out from Belgrade for people, that is in the Army, to pack up their bags and go home. Tom?
Thanks very much, David Bloom at the White House. Well, let's ask the man in the middle of all of this from the beginning who joins me now, Defense Secretary William Cohen. Mr. Cohen, U.S. military forces will be meeting with the Serb forces to work out the details of the withdrawal. If it all goes according to the best case scenario, when do you think that withdrawal might begin?
Well, it's going to take a few days to work out the mechanics, certainly of how the sequencing, the timing, the logistics of the Serbs moving their forces out of Kosovo. But we would hope that it could be done in a matter of a few days. It's going to take some time. I wouldn't want to give any specific parameters, but it can be done fairly rapidly. In fact, that's what the agreement calls for, a rapid removal of the Serb forces. So the first thing has to take place, the military-to-military contacts, work out the details, and then start the movement.
The President and you and a number of other officials have continued to emphasize that the bombing will continue in the meantime. But if you've got the United States military meeting with the Serb military, that bombing is going to be a lot more selective, isn't it?
The campaign is going to continue. It's been quite intense. We intend to maintain that intensity. In fact, we are seeing more and more damage being done to Milosevic's forces in the field in the last week or two than previously, obviously. And so with that intensification, I think, comes a greater incentive on them to resolve this as quickly as possible. But we don't intend to change the campaign.
Mr. Secretary, do you think the American people have a full realization of how long American troops are going to have to be in Kosovo to keep the peace and to rebuild that country effectively?
Well, we're trying to obviously work that out right now in terms of the so-called KFOR. It will be a substantial commitment by NATO. The United States is committing roughly 14 or 15% of that force. But as in Bosnia, we started out with large numbers, and those numbers have been substantially reduced over a 3 or 4 year period. We would expect the same here. There are many countries who have volunteered to contribute peacekeeping forces, and so to the extent once we establish a solid foundation for the peacekeeping force, then we would hope to be able to reduce that commitment on the part of the United States. We would be roughly, again, 14 or 15% of the overall total NATO commitment.
Thanks very much, Defense Secretary William Cohen, tonight. In Belgrade and in the refugee camps along the Kosovo border tonight, there is, as you might expect, reaction ranging from relief to wariness. NBC's Kerry Sanders is in Belgrade.
As news of the peace deal broke in Belgrade, reaction was mixed. A former government minister.
This is a great day for the peace and for the future of democracy.
Disbelief for this woman. For her, it's still another night of war and bombing.
I've heard the news, but I still don't believe that this will actually happen.
On the government-controlled evening newscast, Milosevic is being portrayed as saving the territorial integrity of his country, that there would be a UN role in Kosovo, but no mention that NATO would dominate the peacekeeping force, a point Milosevic had always opposed. The Yugoslav government tonight saying it will withdraw its troops within 2 weeks.
And as this peace deal is emerging, word tonight from NATO on what this cost the Yugoslav army. Officials estimating 5,000 Serb soldiers killed, another 10,000 wounded.
But there is no way to measure the cost of this war to 850,000 refugees. At a camp in Albania today, total distrust of Milosevic.
He always lies, and he always promises something else and do something else.
What we can expect from one man who only know to destroy, only know to fight.
But tonight there is also another fear. What if they are allowed to go home? What will they have, and how safe will they be? Kerry Sanders, NBC News, Belgrade.
And still ahead tonight, NBC News in depth, what happens after the fighting stops? Coming up next, the latest on the crash of American Flight 1420. Did the pilots make a fatal miscalculation?
There's mounting evidence that the crew may have attempted to beat the thunderstorm to the airport, which is a dangerous thing to do. It's comparable to trying to beat a locomotive to a crossing.
What really happened to Flight 1420? And a sad vigil. Is the nation about to lose a national treasure?
He didn't save me any?
There wasn't enough.
Quaker Toasted Oatmeal Squares. Crunchy whole grain squares with a hint of brown sugar. You haven't wanted a cereal this badly since you were a kid.
What happens when vitamins and herbs get old? They get stale and lose potency. All GNC products are freshness dated, so you always get the potency you expect. GNC. Come in. Live well. Does your multivitamin know you're a man? Mega Men from GNC is made especially for men with ingredients like saw palmetto and ginseng that other brands don't have. It's your body. Take what belongs to you. GNC. Come in. Live well.
Around here, we like to eat. And we're tired of feeling guilty because we like to eat things that taste good. The folks who make Kraft salad dressing must have read our minds. They've got a bunch of dressings called Light Done Right, with half the fat of the regular kind, but they taste better than anything light has a right to. Light Done Right. I guess they just know what we like. Around here, the dressing is Kraft.
Chevy Tahoe, like a rock.
Tomorrow, prescription drugs. Important new research on the difference between men and women and how they take their medicine. Don't miss NBC Nightly News tomorrow.
Now, two of the area's best forecasters have joined together. The Oregonian and Matt Zaffino, voted best weathercaster by the Associated Press 2 years in a row. Now, look for Matt's forecast every day in the Oregonian and every weeknight on Northwest News Channel 8, where the news comes first.
Now to the investigation into the crash landing of American Airlines Flight 1420 in Little Rock, Arkansas. There are new details tonight on the horrendous weather and how the flight crew might have been in a race against nature on the final fatal approach. Here's NBC's Robert Hager.
As investigators permit the first close-up pictures of the scarred carcass of the plane, new evidence of how its pilots attempted to race a fierce incoming storm in the midst of crosswinds and visibility, both on the outer limits of what's considered safe. Former chairman of the NTSB, now consulting for NBC News, James Burnett.
There's mounting evidence that the crew may have attempted to beat the thunderstorm to the airport, which is a dangerous thing to do. It's comparable to trying to beat a locomotive to a crossing.
Already, when the plane was still 12 minutes out, a very large, intense thunderstorm was moving rapidly toward the airport. The plane looped around to change runways as controllers sounded repeated warnings of wind shear, heavy rain, visibility down to a little over a half mile, and crosswinds 37 miles an hour, gusting to 52. Minutes later, it was over.
In this case, they did not beat the thunderstorm to the airport.
At the National Weather Service office in Little Rock, George Wilkin, on duty at the time the pilot landed, has reviewed the Doppler radar.
You would be experiencing very heavy rain. You would be experiencing some hail, probably dime size, 3/4 inch or so, and some wind gusts about 33 to 35 miles an hour.
And just a touchdown, the plane may have been hit with the fiercest gust of wind yet, or may have skidded down the runway on a layer of water, what's called hydroplaning. Investigators say instead of the typical black tire marks of braking, there are actually suspicious white strips left on the runway, and they're trying to determine if that's a mark that might have been left by hydroplaning. One other issue investigators here are looking into, if the craft was hydroplaning or just plain skidding on the runway, did the pilots properly use what they have to fight that? That is, thrust reversers back here on the engines, or spoilers, these little strips on the wings that pop up as the plane's landing. Both help a plane stop, but there's no sign yet from the wreckage that either was being used at the end. And that said, the big focus here is still the decision to go ahead and land, even in the face of what we're now learning was a really awful storm. Tom?
Thanks very much. Robert Hager tonight in Little Rock. This accident was one more painful reminder that bad weather can be a nightmare for a flight crew and air travelers. NBC's Jim Avila has more tonight on the dangers of flying when conditions are less than ideal.
Flight 1420 crashed on a violent night.
lightning filling the skies.
It was a horrible storm, and nobody could really believe he was going to take that plane in that under those conditions.
In fact, the wind speed at the time of the crash was more than double FAA limits for an MD-80. This jet is certified to land in a maximum 10-knot, 11.5-mile tailwind, and a maximum crosswind of 30 knots, 34.5 miles an hour.
That real downburst gust occurred very, very suddenly and very quickly.
And it came from the worst possible place. Pilots call it a quartering crosswind, hitting the plane from the rear and side, some gusts above 80 miles per hour, and on a 7,200-foot runway, shorter than most major airports, made even shorter by the conditions.
I don't know of a single commercial airplane that should handle that kind of wind condition, particularly when it's across the runway.
Pilots say landing is the most dangerous part of the flight, filled with critical split-second decisions. In fact, a Boeing study of jet accidents shows that 36% happen during landings, and most of those on wet or icy runways. Boeing tracked 10 years of accidents and found that bad decisions cause most of them. 70% pilot error, 16% plane maintenance or malfunction, 5% weather, and 3% air traffic control.
It's a very, very bad combination, and in this case, a deadly combination.
In the end, when and where to land is the pilot's final call. The control tower does not abort landings, even on a violent night. Only issues warning. Pilots can and sometimes do ignore. Jim Avila, NBC News, Chicago.
On Wall Street, it was a mixed day as investors turned away again from technology stocks and headed for the blue chips. The Dow Jones Industrial Average climbed almost 86 points today. NASDAQ dropped more than 29 points. All of the top 5 technology stocks were down today. When we come back, NBC News in depth tonight, after the war, keeping the peace, the challenge ahead for American troops.
The best way to cure athlete's foot so it won't come back is here. New Lamisil AT. So powerful, it does what no other brand can do. These take 4 weeks of treatment to kill the fungus. Lamisil AT is so powerful, with just 1 week's use, it stops the itching and burning and cures athlete's foot between the toes. So powerful, a clinical study showed 3 whole months later, most users were still athlete's foot free. Now without a prescription. New Lamisil AT, the best way to cure athlete's foot fast so it won't come back.
Joseph.
Yes, Papa.
There is an enemy that threatens all weeds. It is the spray.
So, we'll bribe it.
The spray does not respond to bribes.
What's the world coming to?
Roundup. No root, no weed, no problem.
He works in Washington. She works in Washington. He's booked all week. She's booked all week. They get together on the weekend for as little as 2.5 cents a minute. Introducing Sprint 1000. 1,000 minutes of weekend calling every month for $25. 2.5 cents a minute. And they say people in Washington are out of touch. Call Sprint at 1-800-PIN-DROP now.
Bear gel caps, the only gel cap that can help save your life. New Bear gel caps, powerful pain relief, and so much more.
Forget these. Remember this. Smile. Eat. Make a mess. Make a memory. Escape to Red Lobster.
To build the new LeSabre, we didn't just look to research numbers or test scores. We also took a good look at your family. Introducing the all-new 2000 LeSabre, re-engineered with more safety features than any other car in its class. The new 2000 LeSabre by Buick.
Tomorrow, today's summer concert series will rock the plaza with Blondie. Brought to you by the incredible edible egg. Feel the rapture tomorrow on Today.
NBC News in depth tonight when the bombs finally stop falling. But there still is danger ahead. Rebuilding Kosovo and getting the people back into their homes will take a massive and costly effort by many countries. The United States will be in the lead. NBC Jim Miklashevsky reports tonight in depth.
Once the bombing stops, NATO may find making the peace will be just as complicated as fighting the war. First, the Serbs must withdraw more than 40,000 troops and hundreds of tanks and artillery. But that could be difficult because NATO bombs have destroyed most of the roads and almost all the bridges leading out of Kosovo. And most Serb troops must be out before peacekeepers can go in.
We have to see performance, not promises. And as far as I know, not one Serb soldier has yet to leave Kosovo.
But NATO's confident it will know exactly when the coast is clear.
If we can find a camouflaged tank in a ditch and destroy it, believe me, we can verify the departure of a whole army from Kosovo.
Getting peacekeepers into Kosovo will be a massive job. Within days, NATO must mobilize 50,000 troops, including 7,000 American GIs. Under NATO's plan, Kosovo would be divided into 5 military sectors, each commanded separately by troops from the U.S., Great Britain, France, Italy, and Germany. Russian troops would also participate, but their exact role is still unclear. More than 2,000 U.S. Marines will lead the way into Kosovo, followed by 3 battalions of American tanks. And those Apache attack helicopters that have seen no action in the war could provide air cover for the peacekeepers. Despite any ceasefire, it will still be a high-risk operation. After 2.5 months of bombing, Serb survivors may be out for revenge against NATO troops.
The troops need to go in fully prepared for the sorts of threats and dangers they're going to face.
And the task of returning the refugees will be monumental. Serb troops forced more than 1.5 million Kosovo Albanians from their homes and destroyed entire villages in their rampage of ethnic cleansing. It's estimated it could take 2 years before most of them are back in their homes.
It's going to require a massive international effort, hundreds of millions of dollars, probably some years to complete.
But NATO's peacekeeping mission will last even longer. U.S. military officials predict once those peacekeepers get into Kosovo, they'll be forced to stay there indefinitely. Jim Miklashevsky, NBC News, the Pentagon. I'll be right back.
Around here, not every day we all get together.
We're making them dinner. Come on, you guys.
But when we do, it's great that the folks at Kraft make Italian.
I love this stuff.
Because it's the one thing we agree on. That way, we can talk about what's on our minds instead of what's on our plates.
Whose idea was this? Well, Kale has a boyfriend.
I guess they just know what we like.
A what?
He's a senior. He's a senior.
Around here, the dressing is Kraft. For something different, try one of Kraft's new vinaigrettes.
These fries are delicious. Are you sure I can eat these?
Yeah, they're low fat. Got the recipe from Pam.
Pam? I don't know her, but I like her.
Pam really cooks. Today, while Amanda Scott was with her students, someone else was negotiating with lenders about her mortgage. At noon, she was keeping order on the playground instead of meeting with a home inspector. At 3, she met with Annie Chung's parents instead of reviewing closing costs with her attorney. And while Amanda was planning tomorrow's lesson, someone else was tying up loose ends at her new home. You've got a life. We let you live it. We're realtors. Real estate is our life.
You won't believe your mouth with this antacid.
That's amazing.
Dissolved almost immediately.
Like, it's gone.
Introducing Maalox Quick Dissolve Chewables, a whole new kind of calcium antacid for heartburn.
It dissolves quickly when you put it in your mouth. Very quick.
New Maalox Quick Dissolve Chewables dissolve faster and more completely than Tums.
Didn't have to dig it out of my teeth. No grit. Gone.
New Maalox Quick Dissolve Chewable Tablets. Quick dissolve your heartburn away.
Quick dissolve. Maalox.
From 1 Minute Maalox.
Do you experience vaginal dryness and need moisture? Vagisil Intimate Moisturizer is like bringing back your own natural moisture with natural aloe and soothing chamomile. Gentle enough to use every day. Vagisil Intimate Moisturizer.
Do you need fast allergy relief? Then you need the power of Zyrtec. Prescription Zyrtec starts working fast and lasts 24 hours. In studies, drowsiness was the most common side effect. Others included fatigue and dry mouth. Most were mild or moderate. To learn more about Zyrtec, ask your doctor or pharmacist. So when you need fast allergy relief, remember the power of Zyrtec.
Bidding war could erupt. The deal has been struck. DuPont just reported.
Wild trading going on.
Beat the Street. CNBC's Squawk Box. Weekday mornings.
In Washington tonight, as they do every year at this time, a new champion was crowned at the National Spelling Bee. This year's winner is 14-year-old Nupur Lala of Tampa, Florida. Triumphed with a word that is, well, not the prettiest word in the dictionary, but she spelled it beautifully. Here's how it went.
Logorrhea. Logorrhea.
That is correct.
And for the very few of you who didn't already know, logorrhea means incoherent talkativeness. No commentary, please. And nothing is going well between the United States and China these days. Now, one of China's most beloved gifts to this country is failing fast. The great panda, Xing at the National Zoo in Washington, is very ill. NBC's Bob Dotson tonight with a medical and historical bulletin.
Xing rallied late this afternoon, sitting up, something he rarely does these days.
He ate very well last night, ate all the bamboo we provided.
But he's lost 50 pounds in the last few weeks, down from 280, and become listless. Curator Lisa Stevens says his kidneys are failing.
Long-range prognosis is pretty serious. There's not a whole lot we can do for him at this point.
Xing has lived 3 years longer than any other panda in captivity. In the wild, they only live 15. He's 28, the oldest surviving panda ever. His name means shining star, and for the millions who saw him at the National Zoo, he always was. He and his mate Ling Ling were the only pandas in America when they arrived in 1972. A generation of American school children had never seen one close up. The communist Chinese cut off panda shipments to the U.S. Richard Nixon's visit to the Great Wall changed all that. America's Cold Warrior brought warm smiles and got 2 pandas in return.
There are only 2 other pandas in the United States at the San Diego Zoo. Fewer than 1,000 left in the wild. The bamboo forests where they live are dwindling. They are hunted for their pelts and rarely reproduce.
None of Ling Ling and Xing's 5 cubs lived more than a few days. Ling Ling died of heart failure in 1992. Xing almost immediately showed signs of aging. 2 years ago, he was diagnosed with arthritis and testicular cancer. Doctors operated. The cancer has not come back. But they say this new problem with his kidneys will eventually kill him.
It's the final days of a wonderful animal, a giant panda.
More than just another animal in a zoo. A national symbol of a Cold War that started to end with him. And for countless kids after that, simply a national treasure. Bob Dotson, NBC News, Washington.
That's Nightly News for this Thursday. I'm Tom Brokaw, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night.